All right, so I'm out. You guys, questions for the floor, please. Nadia, speak up so we can hear the questions.
I don't have a problem with that. I'm really interested in organic weed control. I'm just wondering what you might recommend for organic weed control apart. I mean, I know there's hand weeding, solarisation and cultivation, but what's and I get the process of...
The alternatives are expensive. Nadia, the alternatives are expensive and need to be well timed. I've used two of them. One is Weed Zap that is sold by Native Seeds. Smells beautiful. Oh, it's just sensational because it's clove oil and cinnamon oil and a few other powerful things like that don't just work well in your curry but give curry to the young weeds. However, they have to be young and the conditions have to be warm to hot because actually Weed Zap just burns. So it literally burns the leaves off. Yeah, and so if it does happen to burn your native plant next to it, perennial plant next to it, it might look sick for a while or a few leaves might fall off, but it won't kill it because it doesn't have the power to do that. But if a tiny little plant, like the ones we saw today, all those broadleaf weeds that are popping up all over the place, at this stage they're at 2 and 3 leaf stage. Perfect for Weed Zap application.
Would you bother with that now if we're going to get like another heat wave in February?
Oh, this would be a good, I'm sure this would be a good time to use an organic herbicide. I'm sure it wouldn't kill the...
But would it be a wasted effort if those annuals are going to drop dead anyway with another heat wave? Are you better off waiting until they're a bit bigger?
Well, that's a bit of a throw of the dice, isn't it? That's kind of gambling because I'm saying, and I guess I need to stick by it, I mean, there's no way we can have autumn in summer. I mean, I don't see, you have a look at that sheet of mine over there with the rainfall, the condition from 2008 to 2010, and look at you just run your finger along February and March's maximum temperature on that sheet. It's not under 30 for the whole time. It's up as high as 40 in a number of cases. And then run your finger along the rainfall in February and March. And you know for sure that autumn doesn't come before autumn is due. That's kind of how I see it. So you take a punt that you don't want to waste the money on getting rid of it, or if you've got a hell of a lot of it, then and it manages to survive because we just happen to get some, and annuals will always work like this. If you get a few small dumps of rain from now on, the annuals will keep surviving. And then you'll be busy doing something else. Hell, I don't know, it'll be Easter and you're off for the Easter break or something like that, and then you take some extended time. And when you come back, the plant's not a 2 or 3 leafer anymore, it's 5 or 6 and a decent little rosette. It won't kill it.
So say I missed that application because I'm hedging my bets and don't want to spend the money on that yet. In your experience, all three of you, what is the best methodology of organic weed control? Are you better off cultivating to promote the weed growth?
It depends on your circumstances, but if you've got well-established perennial grasses and these weeds are coming up in between, there's no reason why you can't put a light harrow through that and actually turn it over. It just disturbs the soil enough to expose those weeds, and you'll probably find a lot of those will die.
Does anyone, if it's small patches, 1 hectare or under, for this sort of trial on this basis, would solarising be of any benefit now while it's stinking hot?
Solarising sounds like hard work to me. I'd go for the next option, I'd try pine oil. You can get it from Cooper's.
Pine oil? I've got pines all over my place. It doesn't stop anything from growing.
Yes, it does, because nothing grows under your pine forest.
Well, it does.
Does it?
My whole garden.
Microlina.
No, everything. But not. And I've got also the
Pinus radiata, and you've got stuff growing under it, apart from weeping rice grass.
No, I'm just the wallaby grass, not Macarena.
If you've got the materials and the time to put into solarisation, there's certainly no reason why you wouldn't do it. You could do it, yeah, absolutely. Or that'll just cook the weeds, and then it'll be equivalent to spraying weeds out now in the way of killing such a small germinate. Like they're only tiny, two-leaf stage.
Would it be best cooking them now, then cultivating, and then cooking again?
Yeah. If you want to go down the path of solarisation, that'd be the way to go. Yeah.
And then the weeds happen. The little ones come up and I miss the boat with...
You could, yeah. There's so many options. I think with everybody could probably ask a question around a similar topic to their property, and you could almost give a different answer every time. There's a lot of options. But yes, that'll work.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, Wendy.
We're trying to get rid of silverleaf tomato weed.
Is that the nightshade?
Yeah, it's a nightshade.
How much have you got?
In patches.
I mean,
Well,
look,
we
if
keep-
it's isolated plants and you can do it, I would pull them out by hand.
Well, that's what we've been doing, but I get the impression they're coming up in the same area year after year, because this is our second year going through the main paddock, and I've been told the roots run very deep, and we pull them out, and blow me 3 weeks later, especially if you had a rain, there they are sprouting again in more or less the same area. So while we're prepared to do hand weeding on a 20-acre paddock, it takes a while, but if it's a spray that gets rid of them forever, I would prefer, not that I like doing spraying, to hitting them with something.
As Bob said, if you pull any of these up, you make sure you bag them and don't.
Oh, we do. We put it in the garbage.
Yeah.
Goodbye.
But look, there are herbicides around which will knock that out. I mean, I can't swear to it. I'm pretty sure that brush off will knock it out. If you've got a penetrant with it, that will knock it out. But you don't want to. I don't always recommend using Roundup straight away because it kills everything. So if you've got some grass growing around that plant.
No, it's even when the fire went through the barley, they were up in the barley in place, because you could see they had burnt, but blow me, they were back shooting leaves before anything else came up after the fire.
Taproot.
Yeah, yes. But I only get about that much if I'm lucky at the moment with the damp soil of taproot. It breaks off so easily. So I think there's a bigger root underneath.
I'd look at two. No, I'm not saying to you these will definitely get it, but I'd look at two. I'd look at brush off or metsulfuromethyl, which is sold as brush off or ally, and I would look at 2,4-diamine, right? And read the labels and just see whether or not they will knock it out, right? I think the brush off will.
If you're not talking about a large area, it's just a plant here and there. You could go down the bush care technique, and whether it be cut and swabble, whether it be painting, you don't have to be spraying. It just depends on your situation.
It would be an individual spray because there's nothing in the ground.
You can get a little solo hand sprayer
Yeah.
with a little guard over it, so that you can just
Individual plants.
and that'd work.
I just wanted to know what would get down to get rid of that root that's obviously running underneath, that when the conditions are right, up it pops another plant or two.
I'm not sure, but I think that possibly what also happens with nightshade is that the fruit is probably matured before it's black, and it may drop when it's still green, or it may be ingested by rosellas. They love it, and the seed's got to go somewhere. And so just as on my property, the honey eaters are moving Dianella around the property, and bandicoots are eating the Dianella fruits and moving them around the property, so the rosellas, and probably blackbirds do the same thing with nightshade. So once again, it's sort of know your enemy. Now, you know, who's on the side of nightshade? Is it the two birds? Is it a species of bird that's the vector moving the seed?
I think it's ants myself, but still, because there always seems to be a lot of ants when the plant's beginning to get to flowering, that it's invaded with ants.
Pam's got an answer.
Oh, well, I haven't got an answer, but if you grab that book,
Yeah.
they've got some for silverleaf, nightshade and tordon. I think you need a chem cert certificate for that. Fluorox, which is, I don't know that one, Styrane Advanced. And Roundup Power Max with a surfactant. And that's about it. Manual removal, well that's, it says excavate soil to depth of root system. So, and remove plants. Permission to excavate may be required.
So a high level of Roundup with a surfactant sounds like it's probably the option.
I've always thought that it'd be really good if someone devised something where you could just go up to the plant and just go like that, and this little machine would just cut the root. You put it, you know that that's the centre of the plant. You push it against the thing, and just cut the root. Just go on the next one. We need inventors. Some people who once they see a problem, they're a bit like Andrew, and they problem solve like that. They can't help themselves. That's the solution.
Do you pick up after you've cut the root?
Well, you have to if they've got fruits on them. Yeah.
Andrew, I know you've mentioned it before, but I've sort of more and more been thinking that I might even think about doing some small scale sort of seed work like you've done with your weed mats, and then maybe have that as an on-site sort of weed source. Sorry, not weed source, seed source. And I'm just wondering, you mentioned some sort of rough costs per metre and that sort of thing, metre square. Do you remember
It was $19 a square metre, but that's including drip irrigation underneath, and we added a cost for the time to grow the seedlings. So it was the weed mat, the irrigation, the barrier with the posts, the pins, the plants.
And do you have a sort of a setup, like a 2-pager or something, or a paper or something? Do you plan on that?
We've got a brochure,
We've got the brochure that just says what it is that's required, but doesn't tell you how to do it. We can certainly supply you with something that tells you how to do it, yeah.
Yeah, well, I'd love to have a look at something like that if there's available.
No worries. We hadn't actually gone down the path of thinking that somebody would want to do that, but it was just there as an option. But if you are interested, we'll supply you with something, yeah.
Probably not quite at that scale,
Not that big, you know.
Yeah, thanks.
No worries.
I was just wondering about thistles and killing them off. The seed pods on them, if you spray them and the thistle dies, is there an issue with the seed pod then still spreading itself once it's dried up and died? Or is that going to be neutralised as well?
Probably. I mean, you can bet that the seed is ripe before that final moment of the opening of the head, or when you cut it and leave it on the ground and then it opens and all the seeds get blown out. There's a hell of a lot of plants that,
I try and get
that have
it
after ripening.
just before that starts to bud up, just as it buds up, right?
Sure.
First little
That's
buds.
it. And then that's the time to get it.
I use probably associate, I think. It seems to work quite well on thistles.
Associate, is that the equivalent of Tigrex? I think it's the equivalent of Tigrex.
Something, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'd use a hoe and cut them at ground level.
oh, it's the same as brush off.
Yeah,
Well, that'll get it, but
probably plant where not.
you can. It's the funny thing with thistles is there's a certain time, and it relates to soil moisture and the actual plant. And assuming it's an annual to the thistle, that where you can actually cut it off at ground level and it actually doesn't grow again. But it's just such a small window of opportunity to actually get it to that point where the ground is drying out. And of course, by that stage, often these bulbs are too big. Sometimes you can get it. I've actually seen patches where someone said to me, this was all thistle, and I just went through and cut them all off at a certain time. But that's hit and miss. I think you'd be better off with a herbicide because.
Done that and it does work.
And one of the worst things about that's right. So one of the worst things about thistles is the way they distribute their seed. That is the worst thing. So I always say to landlords, if you've got thistles, try and get rid of them as many as as quickly as you can, because they spread so quickly.
And that's what my neighbour does. He's been there forever. He walks around with a bag and just cuts the heads off.
Yeah.
You know, he leaves the rest there. He just cuts the heads off and sticks them in the bag. You know, but you know, it's a very time-consuming job. I was going to mention when you said about the broom.
Yeah.
I have found too that I don't know if it does it all the time, but if you, you know, I put just like a saw blade on my, you know, my slasher thing, you know, my weed snipper. Yeah. You know, it's a big one. Yeah. I just put a saw blade on that, and if it cut the broom off at about that, I mean fully established broom as tall as I am, but you cut it off at that height, it just dies, and you just. And the sticks stick up, which are a little bit of a hazard for a while because they're quite strong. But another season later, they just literally rot and snap out of the ground, you know. So that works well for getting rid of broom. Yeah. But only, once again, I think only certain times it does it.
Broom's a funny one. When you get the little broom plants and the soils where you can pull them out by hand really quickly. As soon as the soil dries out, they're stuck in there.
Touch it,
I think something to remember with a lot of species of weeds, if you're actually going to go through and if you're going to spray something that's already started to, the buds have started, a lot of these weeds have got enough energy in them to put enough energy into that to actually ripen those seeds. If you pull them out and just leave them there, they might have only just started a bud, but that will go right through to full maturity of those seeds with it just sitting there on the ground. You think you've pulled it out, oh yeah, it hasn't seeded, no worries, and you chuck it in the ground. You come back a few days later or a week later, and there's seed heads that are actually fully mature laying on the ground, and the plant's not even in the ground. So you've got to be really careful. That's why a lot of people bag it and take it away.
Yeah, they've got a real great survival.
It's amazing.
Andrew, you said that your cedar just drops it willy-nilly. What you've got no drop tubes, or you
That's
just
right,
come straight out the bottom of the. Because I've got a 9-foot sod cedar, and I thought, well, you know, if it's only got to be that deep, you know, bit uneven ground, some are going to get put in too deep. If I just let it, take all the hoses off, take everything out underneath it, and just let it drop, work okay.
That's the concept of where we've put more engineering in it than that, but that's the concept of where we started. Because ours did have a tubes on it.
Yep.
Took the tubes off. Since then we've actually had an engineered seed box. But the concept of taking off the tubes and making it just drop down as a curtain, that was the first step.
And one of the local contractors has done that as well. In fact, Will Hanovert's running a native grass pasture project, and he did the same thing.
Yeah, I was just wondering whether, you know, that might be a way to go. Just drop it on the ground and then just, because that'll get a spread, and then just run over it with harrows and Bob's me uncle. That's right.
Well, I know someone that uses a Vicon spreader with a special activator in it to keep everything stirred up, but it's still just a simple spreader with a medium to carry the seed.
Just the opening to...
And I think the opening's the same on this particular model that he uses, but it's what's happened inside, because you need something to keep everything moving. You can't let anything ball or whatever. Yeah. So yeah, I've seen a lot of stuff. So harrowing a pasture and then the Vicon spreader going over it with a bag or a bit of chain or whatever dragging behind it, and that's a minimal approach, but it sure works. Yeah. John Stafford's done that with kangaroo grass.
Well, our seeder stopped working in the field when I was doing a seeding with Anthony Abley, the district ecologist, and so we had to all of a sudden in the field change what we were doing. So we used our machine where the seeder had stopped working, but the ground mechanism that was disturbing the soil was still working. So let's just equate that to harrowing. We'll just say it's the same as harrowing. So we harrowed it, had about 5 or 6 people hand casting instead of it going through the seed box, and then I just went over and rolled it because we had a roller on the back of the machine. I lifted up the tines and then just had the roller rolling it, and we've just had this year a response that's just incredible. So we've gone from this mechanical thing that does everything in one shot to having a team of people and doing a 3-step process just so we could get the job done, and we've had a brilliant result. So it doesn't really matter how you get to that end point, as long as there's just different ways to actually get there.
Persistence and innovation.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've got a, well, I call it spear grass that grows along the creek, and it actually literally goes right on the banks of the creek, but it spreads like nothing on earth, and it can get into clumps of about that round, of say 500 spears.
Spear grass.
I don't know. Yeah, that's the name I use. It's not spear grass. I
Sounds
know.
bad to me.
That's why I'm asking you what it could be. It will grow to a height about that high. You don't want to hit it on your motorbike, I tell you right there. And nothing eats it. The stock will eat the tops off when it's very, very young, and it grows like these gorgeous little delicate, little fine spears to about that high. And it will fill this room from the creek if you let it go. It just comes up everywhere.
There's some sort of sedge or
Does it get wet feet? Is it wet? Does it
Uh,
get wet on the side there?
Oh yeah, it grows in the creek, like right, but it grows right up on top of the hill where it's as dry as a bone, and it just takes over. It just covers the whole. It's like bracken.
It doesn't have a grass leaf. It doesn't have a grass-like leaf, does it?
No, it has just like a more spear, very
Yeah,
green.
I think
It's
it's a
very
spear
green all
grass.
year round, and it has a very thin spear.
I think it belongs there.
I think you're dead right. I think somebody I vaguely remember years ago told me it's a native, and you're not allowed to do away with it. And,
Bring us a specialist.
Yeah, no.
Double bag it. Bring it up.
Trust me, I know what kills it. But it just takes over the whole, takes over a whole paddock. It just goes crazy, And as I say,
That's what we're hoping the native grasses are going to do.
oh, I saw this is a native.
Take over your whole paddock.
Yeah, I'll bring some in the next time, and I'll show you it, because it's fascinated me as to what it is. Now, speaking of which, then is bracken a native? Somebody else told me that was a native too.
Yes,
So not allowed to get rid of that either.
Hell no.
Of course not.
It's got medicinal purposes.
Oh, great.
If you're Aboriginal.
Yeah, stock love it, nice.
Well, it's actually a highly toxic stock, and if you put stock into a paddock where there's a significant amount of bracken and there's very little grass under it, and they do eat the bracken, it'll kill them, or it can kill them.
I've always got plenty of feed, so I never stock never touch. But yeah, I can imagine. I mean, they're smart enough to know that unless they're starving.
I've spoken to a number of vets who've been called out for bracken
I
poisoning.
can imagine.
particularly
Yeah,
young
I can
young
somebody
cattle.
saying that to me too.
Okay, there's a bit of a break there. I'm going to take the opportunity. It's just after 3, so we like to make sure that we finish without too much room. So thank you all for coming again. Please leave your evaluation form on the sheet. Yep, there's a good spot. If you have anything else that you'd like to ask us, you think overnight, or you need to get back to me for any reason, please send me an email. You've all got my email address. And I wish you a safe journey home. Thanks for coming.